Welcome to the Stronger Than Your Boyfriend podcast, a podcast for anyone into fitness.
Especially for all you squat, bench, and deadlift bros.
We are Heather and Katie, owners of Barpath Fitness, here to help you sift through the bullshit and toxic misinformation that permeates the fitness industry. Today, we want to ask the question, are squats and deadlifts necessary?
Yes, but not in the way you think.
Ah, yes.
All right. End of episode.
And we're done. Bye.
Yeah, we're done.
So it seems like a no-brainer because yes, a squat and a hinge are both foundational movement patterns. And if you haven't listened to all our rants about that or read our blog about that, we believe in 8 foundational movement patterns that should be in everybody's program.
Yes.
And a squat and hinge are both part of that. But today we are specifically talking about barbell back squats and barbell deadlifts.
Yes.
Are those necessary? So
No.
no?
No.
So why let's talk about why people think they're necessary.
Well, because people see that shit on Instagram.
Yeah.
People see everyone lifting heavy with, back squats, deadlifts, or, they see, because you see the highlight reels. That's why. And then people are posting their awesome lifts on Instagram and social media.
Awesome. They look cool.
They are. You should do. Everything is nuanced. It is not black and white. Because here's the thing. If I have a client who can't barbell back squat or can't deadlift from the floor, conventional deadlift, barbell deadlift, we're going to ask the question why, but we're still going to do squatting variations and hinging variations while we figure out why we can't do that. And what my goal is to work them up to being able to do that. And here's why they are a good movement to either work towards or keep in your routine is because you can load them the most. And we all know progressive overload is important, but also it's not all about that. It's just there are a lot more, it's a compound movement and there are a lot more moving parts to barbell squats and barbell deadlifts. You're engaging your core. Both of them are, let's be real, full body lifts, right? So whereas other variations might be targeting, the lower body a little bit more or, certain muscles on your lower body, but I have a ton of clients where I'm not doing that, either barbell lift, nor do I have plans to, because there's also the component of what are they comfortable with too? What are you comfortable with?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I have an argument to your...
Ooh, good. I like that.
Didn't you say... Okay, wait. You said you can load them the most?
Yeah.
I don't agree on barbell back squats because...
Ooh, okay. Yeah.
Split squats. There's research that shows...
Better?
That if you do a split squat, you can load more than 50% of what you can do in a barbell box squat.
Okay, that is a great argument.
You can load split squats
Just
more.
Shut that shit down, and I like that. And you know what? This is why I seriously, I have a lot of my clients are doing barbell back squats, but honestly, I'm doing a lot of heavy lunges and split squats and just that it's because the unilateral training is so important.
Yeah.
So yeah, that I didn't even think of. And you know what's interesting about that? If you do a bilateral movement like a squat or what's really easy to measure this on is like a leg press. When you do a bilateral leg press, you can do like how many times more than it doesn't equate to, let's say you can do 200 pounds with both legs for 10 reps. You won't be able to do 100 pounds on each leg. You know what I mean? As far as breaking it down to unilateral. So there's a lot, it's a lot more nuanced than that. And there's more components happening than just the strength in your legs. There's your core engagement, what are you emphasizing one side over the other? So yeah, it does. That is a really good point to bring up. And I didn't even know that stat.
Because with split squats, you can do that.
Yeah.
So like if you have a 300-pound barbell back squat, you can split squat more than 150 pounds.
Yes.
Like that is like, you have to train it.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to right away. Like if you've been back squatting 300 pounds, you're not going to be able to just right away 150
Right.
pounds.
Yeah, totally.
But the research shows that if you train split squats, you can do more than 50% of your 1 rep max.
That's crazy.
For bilateral.
That is
so
really
you
cool.
can actually get stronger.
Yeah, I think, that is really cool. And I do think when I'm training clients or myself or whoever, it's always a good question to ask, why can't we do this? Because I think that everyone's goal should be to do every single movement, but there's so much nuance to that. And I think, so I have a client and he had horrible back injury and there's no way in fuck that he would ever do a barbell deadlift or a back squat. And I think a lot of that is just the mental component because We've actually done a lot of work, and he doesn't have any back pain. He doesn't have any shoulder pain anymore. And we could do that, but I'm not going to do that with him. You know, like there's also that personal experience and anecdote. And he's really fucking strong. His legs are really strong. So but we do it heavy ass split squats and heavy ass, you know, lunges and, you know, like goblet squats with pauses, you know, the tempo piece too. So it's not necessary. But you do have to do some form of it, some variation of it.
Right, yeah.
That's what we're getting at here.
A lot of strength and conditioning coaches that I've talked to will say that depending on the sport, they may never have their athletes back squat.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it makes a lot more sense for them to do split squats because they're doing so much turning, pivoting, moving, like single leg stuff.
Exactly.
Why would they put them on? They want to be efficient. Why would they put them in a back squat?
And another drawback to doing a back squat, a barbell back squat, is unless you have the proper form and mobility, you're really risking injury. So that's another reason why. Yeah. And people, my online clients versus my in-person clients are a little bit different. I think my in-person clients, they're coming to me because they're not going to train without me. And it's like, they don't have any major goals. They just want to be strong and they want to be fit. And it's like, well, okay, yes, if they're in pain, we're going to address that, obviously. But if it's like, I don't really, you know, their mobility isn't the best and their form is like okay on a back squat, but I can save time and just do heavy like Bulgarian split squat, I'm going to do that. Yeah. And then their legs are going to get really strong that way too. Yeah. And you know how much of an advocate we are for unilateral training. Yes. So there's also that piece too. So yeah, I don't know. It's so dependent on the person and the client and what they want. So I
will have new clients do split squats any day.
Absolutely.
Over a back squat, right?
Absolutely.
Even if they tell me that they've been back squatting for years.
Yeah.
I want to see your split squat first. Because if you don't have stability in a single leg movement, you're going to be compensating in your bilateral squat. And therefore, you're going to hurt yourself.
Oh, yeah.
So I need to make sure that your split squat is solid before I put you on the barbell.
I do the exact same thing. Yeah. I mean, maybe we'll do a back squat, but then I'm like, okay,
and see what they do.
Yeah, and see, you know, where their strength is at, how their form actually looks, you know, where that barbell is the whole time. They're you know, on the eccentric and the concentric portion. And, you know, it's a good marker to assess stability too, which that's why I like if they have been back squatting. But then I'll be like, okay, well, let's see. How well can you do lunges? You know, how can you do any weight on the lunges?
What's your
balance? What's your stability like?
What does that ankle look like versus that ankle?
Exactly. Yeah. So there's a lot, and this is part of the process too. Whether they want to back squat or not is just assessing why they can't do something. Yeah. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be a barbell back squat, but it's why can't you do something? What is your limitation? And then there are a lot of the unilateral movements are a big piece of how it's going to show you what's happening. You know what I mean? So like where the breakdown is happening.
Yeah.
So
where's the deficiency? What's the issue? Yeah. If your back squat feels off, we might be able to figure out why just by looking at your split squat.
And you know what I've noticed with clients who've had back pain? We can still do front squats. So a front-loaded squat, a barbell squat, Zercher squat. Have you ever done those? Those suck. It's where you hold the bar on your forearms, which you should do. That's the only time I like to use the squat pad, even though it's like, if you're loading it pretty heavy, it'll tear up your forearms. Yeah. But
or you can wear like a hoodie. Or
you can wear a hoodie,
sleeve.
something like, So, I mean, it's pretty badass. If I saw someone doing a heavy-ass Zercher squat in like a tank top, just holding it without a pad, you don't have to do that, but
you will impress us.
Yes, you will impress me. So do it. Or you know, a heavy goblet squat, and obviously, the goblet squat, the limitation there is your strength to hold it. Right. So I get
upper
that.
Body strength to hold.
Yeah, and it's just another variation though. But you know, it's same thing with a barbell, with a back squat, or even a front-loaded squat. You know, you have to be able to hold it in the front rack position, so it's kind of the same. But yeah, you could do other bilateral squatting variations, not just, okay, I can't barbell back squat, so I'm just going to do split squats and lunges. Well, you could try other ones. Yeah. There are plenty, but you should always keep some sort of split squat variation or lunge variation in your routine.
There's also a belt squat.
Squat.
There's all sorts of squats.
Yeah, and if you think about bodybuilders, they use that shit. Like they're trying to grow muscle, so they're trying to get tension in the muscle. So it's like, do they need to do that with back squats? No. they can do that with lunges and split squats and hack squats and leg press and shit.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, do we advocate for that for the average person? No, because we want them to be fully functional.
Right.
But it's like, well, bodybuilders have a lot of good, anecdote, even though they're broy about shit and they can fall into like certain camps. But you can, if you pay attention to them, depending on your goals, if it is more of that aesthetic, build muscle kind of thing, well, they look that way for a reason,
right?
If they're steroids too, but whatever.
I do want to put in like a disclaimer.
Yes,
that when we first started training, actually, I feel like when we first started Barpath,
we were like squats and deadlifts.
We were like, everyone should work with a barbell. Like, we were so intense about
Hence,
it.
Barpath fitness?
That's where the name came from.
We didn't change it. Yeah. Well, okay, to be fair, we were powerlifting back then. Yes. And unfortunately, when you powerlift, you have to be good at all of the 3 compound main lifts, which includes a barbell back squat and a deadlift from the floor.
Yeah.
So that's another good caveat is if you're training for a sport and you're competing in a sport like that, well, you have to know how to do those and you have to be good at them.
Yeah. I feel like it's just good to recognize, like, if you're working with a trainer and they're newer, chances are they're going to have one thing they're really passionate about.
Yes.
For us, it was barbells.
Yes. Okay.
Sometimes it's kettlebells.
Yes. I will say though, I feel like it could have been worse. Like we could have been a lot worse.
I think it was a good one. At least we weren't obsessed with burpees.
We weren't doing like burpees and Bosu balls and kettlebell swings just to make our clients sweat. We were like, okay, well we're gonna do full body lift.
We're gonna teach you how to squat properly.
Yeah.
It could be much worse.
It could have been worse.
It's still a good thing to do.
Yeah, but it was still a little campy. Like we were in the camp. Campy. So now I'm like, seriously, it's kind of crazy how much my mind has changed on this, just realizing how my sessions look with my clients. And, there's also, every person moves differently too. Like I have clients where I'm just like, damn, that their back squats look so good. I'm not going to take these out of their routine because they're getting so much stronger from them and they look really good. Their depth is on point. And that is okay if that's not you too. Yeah. But I have a certain few clients where it's like, it's always in there because they just they crush it. But we're still doing split squats and lunges and shit too for accessory or just on a different day.
Yeah.
But everyone's biomechanics are just so different. Yeah. So, but I don't know.
Yeah. I just wanted to bring up the camps because as trainers, you're always learning something new and you get a little obsessed with a thing when you learn it. Yeah. Like that's me with yoga right now, right? Yeah. Like I'm really into yoga right now and breathing and all that.
But not like being in a camp. It's
I think that'll stick with me.
Yeah.
But,
Well, here's the other thing is if you are going to hire a trainer, an online coach, whoever, if they are telling you that you must do this and you need to check them or check yourself and not hire them because they might be green and it might be okay because we were this way and everyone's a green trainer. Everyone starts somewhere, but it gets in the weeds. If their answer is it depends and they're not assessing you too, they're not assessing how you move, even if that's just after a few weeks they've seen how you move and they're like, we're going to change some things because I want to work on this with you. I don't know. It's just, it might not be the best for you because you don't want to be put into a position where you're doing something that you're uncomfortable with.
Right.
Because that's another thing I'll take into account. Like, I'm always asking them, how do you feel about this?
Yeah.
And then I can tell if they're just like, like they're like, oh, it feels good. And they're just, but then we do something else and you can tell that they're just like, oh, thank God. Like, know.
Yeah. It's good. Yeah. It's a balance of like challenging them, and doing what you push they probably need, but also like, they should have some autonomy and agency and know what they like too.
Yeah. But I want them to enjoy their sessions. Right. Here, this is such a balance because you want your clients to enjoy the sessions, but also working out is not that enjoyable. And you're going to be doing a lot of the same shit.
Yeah.
And yes, it is the job of the trainer to educate the client on, hey, this is what we're going to do and this is why. And I think this will help this. Or you don't have to say that and they should just trust you, if you're good too. But also I think it's a good conversation starter. I love when my clients come to me and they're like, hey, I saw this. What do you think about it? Like, what do you think about this advice? And it's a really good piece of conversation to debunk most of this broy shit.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, there's some here's how the conversation always goes too. There's some truth to that, but how they're communicating it is horrendous because every person is different.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know, like, especially with, even within a back squat, like doing a back squat, some people can't, the full range of motion is getting your hips below parallel. Some people can't do that based off of their, it's physically impossible for them.
Yes.
Based off of their femur length and the femur to torso length.
Yeah.
And that's okay, but maybe they would be better off doing those unilateral variations to help strengthen that because their legs are probably really fucking long.
Yeah.
So it's just.
I just realized when we were talking about history of training that it's 2025, right? Yes. In 2 years, I will have been a certified trainer for 20 years.
Wow.
That is
Do
so
you feel
long.
old? Yes. But like not you started college though.
I did, yeah. Well, actually like coming out of high school into college.
Yeah.
But that's crazy. Anyway, let's talk about hinging.
Hinging, yes.
Because we've talked a lot about squats.
Yes.
So now I want to talk about deadlifting from the floor.
Yes.
Okay? So you've heard our stance on squats. We think it's a great movement. Obviously, it is a foundational movement, but as far as a barbell back squat, we believe that not everybody needs to do it. And then you've heard kind of how we assess that and what we choose. How about barbell deadlifts? Let's talk about those.
Deadlifts, same concept.
Okay.
I do think that a barbell deadlift from the floor is a little bit more conducive for most people to learn.
Okay.
And I say that because you're not in full knee flexion, nor are you in a full hinged position.
Right.
So I do think there's a little mix of both there to where it's not hurting a back or not, and it could, but and not hurting a knee or whatever. So, and if you have bumper plates, you can start from the floor for most people. However, this is a very big generalization.
Do you want to explain why?
Why? Oh, bumper plates, because bumper plates are all the same size.
Diameter.
Or diameter. Yeah. Just they get thicker as they get heavier. So they never change in diameter and height.
So the height of the bar will always be the same if you're pulling with two tens
versus 245.
Yeah,
it's just thicker.
So that's why they're the best for beginners.
Yeah, and everyone thinks they look cooler too.
Yeah.
But again, it's really nuanced because before I'm going to put someone in the position to deadlift from the floor, we're going to make sure that you master a hinge.
Yes.
And generally that looks like the Romanian deadlifting variation. Okay, so that's just basically hinging. You can hold a weight or not. Half the time I have clients and we're just, maybe they're coming in with pain. We're just going to assess that hinge pattern. And they're kind of like acting like they're holding weights, but they're not. And that's my progression is, okay, well now we can maybe hold something as you're hinging. But that is just a basic hinge.
Yes.
And I think just the Romanian deadlift is just coming from holding a barbell. You know what I mean? Like that. Yeah. That's why it's called Romanian in a deadlift, but it's just hinging. You're just assessing their hinging. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
hinging is a major lift that we all have to train.
We all have to do it.
Right? It is a foundational movement, but it does not need to be from the floor.
No, it doesn't.
And that's why I also teach people from the top down. That's why Romanian deadlifts are also my go-to, but it doesn't also have to be a barbell.
No, it doesn't.
It could
dumbbells,
be a kettlebell. It could be dumbbells. It could be a cable.
Yeah.
Actually, one of the best things I've been able to do is teach people, if you set up the little bar, like they're going to do a bicep curl.
Yeah.
And they go down to pick it up.
Yeah.
I have them hinge.
Yes.
And then pick it up. And I'm like, okay, do that again.
Yeah.
And then they're doing deadlifts, right? And I'm teaching them the hinge as they're just reaching for a cable because it is such a functional movement.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you know what's interesting is because it's not just RDLs, right? There are a lot of different movements. There's RDLs, there's rack pulls, single leg deadlifts, posted deadlifts, cable pull throughs.
Good mornings.
Good mornings.
Even,
This is the one I want to talk about. So
this is a tricky one, I feel like.
I personally right now love good mornings. I do them more than I deadlift.
Which variation?
So I typically have a bar on my back, but it is not that heavy yet.
Good, yeah. Yeah. Totally.
It's pretty light still. But here's why. If you would have asked me pre-injury or pre-fixing my injury, working on my injury, like I was injured for a long time.
Yeah.
But if you would have asked me before when I was powerlifting or any time, good mornings were the worst lift ever because all I felt them in was my low back. Yeah, just low back, low back, low back. I could not feel them. And I would be like, well, maybe I just need more weight. Nope, bad idea. I tried them seated. I tried them standing. I tried them with my knees bent. Like I tried everything. And then post SI joint issue, post actually working on my mobility, connecting to my glutes, the yoga stuff, of course.
Yeah.
we hinge a lot in yoga. We do like forward folds, which is my worst thing. I can't actually fold still because of my injury. Like I will always probably have some sort of struggle here because of the SI joint. But the practice of the hinging a lot and connecting it with my glutes and the firing and the timing, now I would say is the first time in my life that good mornings feel better than RDLs.
Hell yeah.
I can actually feel them in my glutes.
That's good. Yeah, that's really cool.
That has never been the case before. So that's just an example of someone who was working out for over 15 years, still couldn't connect the good mornings without feeling her back. Yeah. It took a lot of work to get to this point. So everyone is different.
Yeah. And every movement could feel different for every person too. Yeah. So, you know, that's how it goes though. Like some clients, they feel walking lunges so much in their glutes. And then if we do anything else, it's like all in their quads. So it's like, okay, well, I'm going to keep that lunge, that walking lunge in for them. Yep. And then we're still going to do some mobility work, some hip work to maybe start to just loosen something up and connect a little bit better. Yeah. But also I feel like I really try to get clients to think about that stuff too when they're doing it, because I think that they might be feeling it there. They're just like, I got to get through this movement. So it's like, fuck this shit. And because everyone has movements that they hate too. They're like, fuck, I just want to get this done. This sucks. So it's hard for people. And you're right. I do think everything is so dependent on the person. Yeah. And it has to be.
I do think that if I would have backed down on the weight with the good mornings and worked on my mobility, then eventually this would have happened, right? Like, but I think in my head, I was just like, well, my back hurts, so I'm not going to do these. Yeah. Right? But I think there is a place for just, backing down the weight, trying to, maybe you don't feel it in your glutes right now. And that's not, I want to point out that that's not a terrible thing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you ever have a client and you're like, you're showing them how to do an RDL, you're showing them how to do that.
It's like,
and
I can't feel it.
I don't feel this in my glutes. That doesn't mean it's not working. Right. By definition, if you are doing, hip extension, your glute is firing. If you're doing, like, you can't not have it working. It's just you're not connecting with it yet.
I always have to tell my clients too and kind of calm them down a little bit. Like, oh, I'm feeling this deadlift in my low back. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
you're supposed to.
Your low back is working.
You're supposed to. Yeah. I mean, I always tell them, I don't want you to overwhelmingly feel it there and that be the only place you feel it to where it feels like it might tighten up. Yeah. But if you're also, and my next question usually is, okay, well, do you feel it in your glutes and your hamstrings too? Yes. Okay, great. Then we're doing a really good job. We're engaging your entire posterior chain.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like,
and
good.
Even like your lats, because you're keeping your shoulders back and down.
Yeah, and also personally, sometimes I'll be doing heavier Romanian deadlifts and I'll feel my glutes. That one I really do feel my glutes a lot and a little bit in my hamstrings. But then like the next day my low back will be a little bit sore. Yeah. And I'm like, well, I didn't even feel it in my lower back, but obviously it's working and I'm not even mad about that. Right. Like those are muscles, you have muscles back there.
Non-attachment.
Yeah. Like I don't have low back pain today. Yeah. Like I'm not stressed about it because, and you know what's funny with that one, just kind of a side note, is people, when they have back pain, they're like, well, I just need to strengthen my lower back, but they don't want it to feel it. So I'm like, well, which one? Because you have to strengthen it, and in order to do that, you have to feel it.
It's gonna get a little sore.
Yeah,
it is. It has to work.
It's okay if your low back is sore. It's the pain versus the soreness, like we talked about in the listening to your body episode. The pain versus soreness, like which one is it? Tune into your body to figure it out. Yeah. So
I think another move that I really like, I guess this falls in the squat realm. Yeah. Because step ups are like kind of similar. So step downs. The one that I found that really helps me engage, because you were talking about people not feeling their glutes for certain things.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a really interesting setup. So I have to do it on a Smith machine, which is wild, or something else. But I'm not actually using the Smith machine. I'm just holding onto the bar. So you start standing on a tall box that is at least, when you're at the bottom, your hip is at your knee level or below. And you start at the top and you contralateral. You hold a dumbbell in your right hand. Yeah. Your left foot is on the box. And so you step down with your right foot.
But you're hinging.
Yeah. So, well, you're keeping your, you're keeping your shin parallel.
Oh, got it. Okay.
So that targets your glute more, apparently, if you keep your shin vertical, so your knee over your ankle. Okay. It's an interesting one, but you can't, if you think about stepping off a box, there's no way to actually keep your knee over your ankle unless you're holding on to something. Yeah. So that's why I hold on to the bar. So that's been an interesting one. It's called we should do a video of it. It's called like a contralateral.
Okay, yeah.
step down.
Yeah, I feel like it'd be a good visual for people.
Down. Yeah, it's a good glute one.
Yeah. So, and yeah, I just going back to the hinging, you can, I mean, I have online client right now where she's had some back issues and some shoulder issues, and we have been exclusively just doing rack pulls. Because
rack pulls.
Rack pulls are great.
I forget about rack pulls.
Yes, and it's like
sleeping on those.
Yeah,
I can do those.
Yes, you kind of have to do it with a barbell. It'd be hard to set up dumbbells and a rack and do it. But rack pulls are great, and it's not any less than a deadlift from the floor. Sure, you'll get more range of motion, but okay, well, what if you can load it a little bit more? That can get you some good results too.
Yeah, and you can put it at various heights.
Yeah.
So you can go as low or as high as you want.
And I think it can be really beneficial for someone who they feel their glutes if it's set right below their knees. This is just an example. But then if we try to go to the floor, it's like low back, low back, low back.
Me.
So it's like, well, why not like get really strong in that range of motion? And then maybe it's hard to just go like inch by inch down towards the floor with a rack because, it's the pins are set. But you could try going low, or you can even do, like 1 rep, squeeze your glutes and then rest. Just do a bunch of rest pause reps there's so many different variations that you can do and so many tempos where your training could just be endless because you can continue to just work on it. So that's the fun part about it. But I really, really, really like single leg deadlifts.
Yes.
And that could be bringing your non-working leg off the floor or like a staggered stance too, where you're supporting yourself. So you kind of have like an anchor. So like, let's say you're working your left leg, your left glute, hamstring, that side. But you don't want to incorporate that balance component, which you should. It's just maybe for this phase of your training, you're just trying to load that leg a little bit more. You kind of just anchor your right foot, like lift it up and lift your heel up. Yeah. So you're stabilizing with that right foot, but the emphasis is on that left side. So that's a good kind of like a mix between bilateral and single leg, So it's like, I like that one. They can load it more than a single leg deadlift where you're actually lifting your leg up. But I think I like the variation where you lift your leg up more because this is, it's game changer for stability too. Because I feel like a lot of my clients' issues happen in the foot, in the ankle. And it's like, this is where we need to work.
Yes.
And some of my clients, they're good. They don't have any pain. But one of my clients right now, I'm like, she trains without her shoes off, probably because I've convinced her. And I'm like, good, I literally had her the other day, like, I need you to think about the tripod of your foot. Yeah. And I think it's like, okay, now we can engage a lot of things that weren't engaged before. Yeah. And hopefully it'll help this foot pain that she's having.
The feet are so important.
Yeah. Yeah. We have a whole episode on that, #foot day.
Hashtag
foot day.
#foot day. It's actually called Stability Starts in the Feet, but then we
incorporate the hashtag foot day. So yes, I feel like the main points we're trying to get across is you do not have to barbell deadlift, you don't have to barbell squat, right? But you can. Yes. And it's a good goal to have.
Yeah, they're great.
But I feel like I think it would be beneficial for everyone to hire a trainer, even you and I, just to see, okay, well, I feel I'm seeing this in you, and I feel like we can really load doing this variation, or we need to work on this with this variation. So yes, hiring a coach is super important.
And if squatting with a barbell, back squat, and deadlifting from the floor is your end goal, if you have a solid program / coach, you can work on the variations that will support that goal.
Exactly.
Because that's what we did with powerlifting, right? Yeah. Like when we were powerlifting, competitive powerlifting, the goal is to be as strong as you can in a squat, bench, and deadlift.
Yeah.
One time.
That's it.
Well, 3 times.
Well, 3 times.
But one rep.
9 times.
3 times.
9 times.
9 times.
9 times.
But basically, like every variation I did was to make my squat stronger. Yeah. And I did not always back squat. Like sometimes I would high bar, sometimes I would low bar, sometimes I would front squat, sometimes I would split squat, sometimes I would zercher squat. Like, but all of it was to make the back squat stronger. So we're not saying like, oh, you should do these other movements because they're superior necessarily. We're saying they can support your back squat, and you should not only be back squatting.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is why it's so important to hire a trainer or coach, because they can assess you. They can, even if you are just really fucking good at back squats and deadlifts, but you don't do anything else, well, that person's going to make you do other shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's really important too. And I think the biggest thing to remember is that fitness has guidelines, not laws. You don't need to listen to some dumb douche on Instagram that says you have to do this, because you shouldn't listen to them because they're wrong. So, and your program should always be individualized,
always,
not cookie cutter.
Yeah.
Well, granted, we know that training and coaching isn't accessible to everyone, and there are some good programs that you can get stronger, but it should be individualized to, even if you can learn yourself what you need.
Tweaks.
Yes, and make tweaks. That is the key. And hopefully like content like this can help you realize that. And it's really hard to push yourself out of your comfort zone and do things that you don't like. As long as it's done safely, that's a really good practice. Exactly. And that will make your training a lot easier once you know that you can do that hard shit. Which training is hard in and of itself. So
totally.
Yeah. So every person has their own needs. Some people have hip impingement. Some people have knee pain. And it's like, most people do. That's the thing. I think because of the way our society is, a lot of people are just have pain. They have chronic pain. And that's why, honestly, most of my clients were not doing the barbell back squats and deadlifts, but a lot of them are too, because we're addressing that. So yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So ask yourself, what is my goal here? Is it strength? Is it mobility? Is it hypertrophy? Is it all three? And does a barbell back squat best serve that purpose, or a deadlift from the floor, right?
Yes.
I think that's where you should start. And then be honest about, like you were just saying, movements that feel good and keep you consistent, and then be honest about what you're lacking, because chances are you're not going to want to do the thing that you need to do.
Yes.
And so be honest about that before loading up your spine, because that's what you were told is the best lift.
Yes. And I feel like people shy away from that too, because it's like, load my spine, no back pain. So it's, well, you want to do both safely, dependent upon your current situation.
Yes.
So, okay. Well, I feel like you should share this episode, right? We haven't asked anyone to share it. Share it, follow us, like us, rate us, review us.
Please.
Join our Facebook group, Strongly and Boyfriend. Okay, peace out.